All right, then, Steve, I guess you have got more than 15 minutes, and let's see what you're doing in Raleigh
All right.
or Durham. I guess they're not the same.
Well, no, the club's in Raleigh. I live in Durham,
Okay.
and I just have to. I will apologize for my Zoom camera right now because I'm on a porch at a mountain house on an unlit porch, and it's getting dark. Uh, so I am the president of the Woodturners Guild of North Carolina, and so just a little background. We are about 110 members. We meet at the NC State University Craft Center in a classroom that has two columns. It's 50 feet long, 20 feet wide, so it has some dimensional challenges. Pre-COVID, we were meeting monthly with 40 to 50 members attending each meeting. And typically our meetings were 2.5 hours, 15 minutes for business, 90 minutes for the demonstration. And we had about 45 minutes for social time and show and tell within the meetings. During COVID, we switched to 2 meetings per month, all on Zoom, both on Zoom. We had a membership meeting with a demo that was either a paid member, paid IRD, or a member presented. And then we added a second meeting, which was strictly a show. We moved the show and tell out of the first meeting, and we just, in order to allow some more interaction, we have a separate show and tell meeting where members submit up to 2 photos of 2 pieces each month. We put those in a Facebook album and then present that album and let each member talk about it at a separate meeting. And that's been one of our successes, and we're continuing with that show and tell meeting even when we move back to live meetings. It's been very well received.
I've heard that from other clubs who've done the same thing as well, that two meeting format is becoming increasingly common.
Yeah, people love to talk about their work. So, and before we had about 15 minutes to show 30 or 40 pieces, and now we have 2 hours. So it has really, there's been a really great interchange at those meetings. So all our meetings during COVID were on Zoom, obviously, and one of the things we learned is we opened the Zoom connection 30 minutes before the meeting started, just for social time during the meeting, and that has also been very well received. And people log in usually, 20 minutes before the meeting. About 2/3 of the participants are there on the Zoom calls. So today we're continuing with 2 meetings per month. We're going to have 1 live hybrid meeting and 1 Zoom only meeting. So if we have a live demonstration at the craft center as our membership meeting, then we'll do our show and tell will be a Zoom only meeting. And if we have a paid IRD, which is just going to be a Zoom meeting, then we'll have a live show and tell. And we do that somewhat for cost, just because we have to pay the university for the use of the room. So we only want to do that one night a month.
Are you set up permanently there, or do you have to move your stuff in and set it up?
Well, it's a craft center, so they actually have a wood shop, so that we actually use their lathe, which is we just roll into the classroom. We have donated the TV and the projector to the university. Our cameras, we have 1 camera mounted in the ceiling, which is permanently set up, and some of the wiring in the ceiling is permanently set up, and then some of it is we have to take down. I'll show you when I show you the picture of the setup. And we had our first hybrid meeting last month in July, which was a live demo by one of our members. So our first hybrid meeting, as I said, the room is long and narrow. We have 2 cameras. One is tripod mounted, and the other's, and that's on the tailstock end of the lathe. And then we have 1 overhead that is fixed, that has a remote control zoom on it, that shows the overhead view right at the headstock. For displays, we have 1 70-inch HD TV and 1 HD projector with a 72-inch screen. At some point, we'll probably add a second TV. The projector is a carryover from what we had before. For the first meeting, we used an Atem Mini Pro. The video feed to the room, to the TV and the projector, was from Zoom. So we used the Zoom feed to feed those 2 monitors. And then the audio, for audio, we use the Rode wireless microphones for Zoom. For the room, it's small enough that the people can hear without any amplification. And the demo included a video presentation by the demonstrator of part of the demonstration. So we had to have the capability of adding a video presentation to both the Zoom feed and the in-room presentation. So that added some challenges to it. So the results of this first meeting, we had about 40 participants. It was about 50-50 live and Zoom. The Zoom feed worked well. The people on Zoom got a good presentation. Using the Zoom feed for the room video resulted in lower resolution for the live audience on the monitors in the room, and that's because Zoom doesn't have HD resolution. So that was a problem, and particularly because it's because of the shape of the room. Our monitors are so big that when you don't have good resolution on your monitors, particularly the projector, it wasn't bad, but I wasn't happy with the image. And then we had issues with latency for the live audience, particularly when we were trying to show the video, the demonstrator's video. I wrote Atem macros for picture-in-a-picture for the two cameras and found it very easy to do. And you can, and I'll show you that when we get back into it. But due to the challenges with the latency and the resolution in the room, we decided to upgrade to the Atem Mini Extreme from the Atem Mini Pro. And so the advantage of the Atem Mini Extreme there are two HDMI outputs. One, and the reason we didn't use the HDMI output from the Atem for the room, because I wanted the multi-view capacity, and I'll show you a slide of that. I think it's critical to manage these presentations. You have to have multi-view, because you can see, particularly if you're programming picture-in-a-picture, that you can set that up and see what's coming before you actually cut it into your feed. And then, so with the two HDMI outputs, one is for multi-view, one is for the program feed to the room displays. And that also, by doing that, it also solved the problem of getting the audio from the video presentation by a demonstrator. That actually fed right into the TV by doing it that way. The Extreme also has programmable keys for picture-in-a-picture macro, so you can just hit it. You can program the macros right into the board. It also has what's called super source for video management. Again, it allows you to control your feed again with picture-in-a-picture. While the demonstrator this past month, he was doing, he had a PowerPoint presentation, and we were able to put his, superimpose his view while he was running through PowerPoint. But it's just another way for video management, and it also has a headphone jack, which can be used to support your audio efforts. So this is a picture of the room we're in, and you can see we have one tripod-mounted camera. You can see the image coming from the projector on the left side there, and there's the TV over on the right. But if you look at these computers here in front, so the computer on the left is a laptop that is feeding into an HDMI input into the Atem for the video presentation. The small screen just to the right of that with the little squares on there, that is the Atem control software, which allows you, it's a really handy thing to have open, because it allows you to, if you want to change some picture-in-a-picture settings or those types of things, it allows you on the fly, you can do that. It's really pretty easy to use and very powerful. The middle laptop, the Microsoft Surface, is the program, and that's actually the Zoom feed that's coming out of that. And the final monitor on the right above the Atem is a portable monitor, and that's coming out of the Atem. That's the multi-view coming out of the Atem. And I just built a little stand for it, so it sits over all the wires coming out of the out of it. And this is a great, I bought it on Amazon. It's the company, it's LaPro, but it's just an LCD or an LED monitor. It's about the size of it's an oversized tablet size is all it is, but it's a 1/4 inch thick, and it's a great way. It's easy to carry around, and it's a great little thing. And I will say that the little screen that's between the two laptops is it's a tablet that is serving as a second screen for the Microsoft Surface laptop, and that's using an application that's called Super Display. It's just you don't need to do much on it, but it allows you. It adds a second screen on there. So that's the setup. You can see the tripod mounted camera, and you can just see the overhead. There's a camera overhead on the lathe, just above the lathe. But that multi-view that's on that. So, and again, without getting too far into this, you can program what that view looks like. So on this, I have 3 inputs. I have camera 1, which is the tripod, camera 2, which is the overhead, and the input 3 is the laptop that's over on the left side there. If you have more cameras, you can show. And then the upper image on the upper left is the preview. So if you're manipulating picture in a picture, you can get that all set up before you hit the button to cut it in. And the image on the right side is the program. That's what's going out to Zoom.
Now, is that the Extreme there? That it has 8 inputs, is that right?
It has 8 inputs, yes.
Yeah.
That's a lot of buttons.
Yeah. I personally don't like picture in picture. I prefer picture beside picture. So that's
well, it is. That's what you're when you do the programming. It's not. You're splitting the screen into 2 camera inputs. So it's
better.
Yeah. It's definitely better. And because you can crop the images so you can get just the part of the image that you want. And that's particularly useful with the overhead camera, because it's giving you a rectangular image, but you don't need a rectangular image. You can mask the sides of it in order to get 2 side-by-side images up on the screen. And I don't have that shown here, but it's very easy, very, very easy to do with the macros and the Atem.
We just do that with spotlights, so that's even easier. But that's very sophisticated what you got there.
Right. Again, this is a close-up of multi-view, and the reason I'm doing it is a powerful thing. And the other thing, you'll see that right there in the middle, you have all your audio inputs coming in. So again, when you're feeding we're showing a video from that laptop that comes in, but you can manipulate all your audio coming in there. The Atem has audio controls on it, so you can mask it. And then the super display controls are you can fill in those other bottom ones. So and as was mentioned earlier, every cable we have on both ends of the cable says where it starts and where it ends. So you can see the cable goes into the Atem and it goes into this port. So yeah, the label maker, I am colorblind, so color coding would not work. But every cable we have, without exception, has a label on both ends that says what device it plugs into and which port it goes into.
So you only have in the kit the cables you need. You don't have a whole lot of extra cables there for just in case.
I have in a kit all the cables I need, and I have another bin that has the just in case cables.
Okay. Because they're not labeled.
Because they're not labeled. All right, so I'm not going to get into a whole lot on this because I think this is very similar to what people have seen before. The difference is that there's 2 HDMI outputs on the Extreme, and one of them goes to the room, and the other one goes to multi-view. And with that, I mean, most of the other the rest of this diagram is pretty much what's been presented. Very similar to what other people are doing. And again, just highlighting the fact that if you're using an HDMI splitter, it has to be a powered HDMI splitter. But
Steve, while you have this up though, a number of us have had trouble with the audio on videos from the remote computer getting fed into Atem. You apparently have solved this somehow. So is it because you've just plugged this second computer directly into the ATEM?
Right. So we have the the laptop for the demo is coming into the ATEM, but what solved it and so both the first two times we had hybrid meetings, both demonstrators had videos. The first time we could not make it work with the Mini Pro. We could not get the audio to come out of the TVs in the room. The people on Zoom could hear it, and the way we ended up feeding it to the room was we had a laptop and put a microphone next to it and fed it that way from the Zoom connection, which was the only way we could do it. But by doing this, what we have with the Extreme, since the room is now fed by the program coming out from the ATEM, because it has two HDMI outs on it now, it solved that problem entirely. So the video comes right through the ATEM, because it's essentially the same program that's going to Zoom. And I don't know why it doesn't work without it, but we could not get it to work. It did not work, having it come through the Zoom feed when we were feeding the program to Zoom.
All right, thank you, because I know a number of us have had the same problem with the ATM.
And like I said, we did it with the microphone. We also, at some point, if that didn't work, we were just going to take a 3.5 millimeter jack and go directly from an output, the headphone jack from the laptop into the speakers. But that was our fallback on this one. But the Extreme did solve that problem.
What does the Extreme cost, Steve?
Just under $1,000.
So the basic Mini is 300, the Mini Pro is 500, and this is 1,000. Is that right?
That's right. And if anybody's interested, I have a brand new ATEM Mini Pro for sale for $350. I'm serious. Just contact me. We figured we'd just offer it as a discount to somebody that's been used twice. So we're fortunate that we had enough money to do this. We didn't spend a lot of money on workshops over COVID, and our treasury had enough money in it to make.
Steve's question for you: would you kind of suggest that the clubs go ahead and go to that level of ATEM rather than making the mistake of going cheap and then having to buy one, then having to buy a second one, and having to buy the third one? I did that with lathes. I hate to do it with this type of equipment.
I am happy. Again, we've used this one time. I think it's a powerful. If you have people that are going to use the power of this piece of equipment, I would suggest you do it. But the Pro will work if you're not doing stuff like showing videos, that type of thing, and you don't need really large monitors in your room where you need the higher resolution. But to me, having the ability to output to the room right from the ATEM and not go through Zoom was a big advantage, and also to retain multi-view. Those two things were I find to be important, because I'm managing maybe at a higher level than some are. If you're going to keep it simple, maybe I've made it too complicated, but to me, it's important to be able to use the dual, either as what I call picture-in-a-picture, but really the dual images on the screens, or maybe even three. So Dennis, I can't really say. I mean, if you have the money, I would go with the Extreme rather than the Pro. But the Pro, certainly there's so many people using it. It works. It can work. It just didn't work as well in our application.
My issue with it is how do I then bring other people in? It's already a formidable learning curve for a new guy, and I have to bring in new guys because I know I'm not going to be here all that long.
Right. Now, that's you'll see when I get to my yes.
Okay, go for it. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So lessons learned. As I said, the additional HDMI out port on the ATEM Mini Extreme really solved the problem with resolution. It solved the problem with latency, and it allowed us to show videos there. And that's going to be really also very important when we do our show and tell meetings, where we have both we're going to have some people coming in that we're going to be showing stuff from Facebook and or from a photo gallery. Actually, we may just, I won't get into the specifics, but you can actually load those images right into the Atem using the Atem software.
Does it also record? Does the Extreme record?
Yes, it does. At full resolution, it'll record what's going out on the program.
Yeah.
But you're not going to get all the Zoom input back into it. So that's the downside of that recording. But you'll have a clean recording of the demo. Having the Atem control software open and accessible during the meetings is useful. And again, it's not that complicated. I am not a computer person. I'm an engineer, a retired engineer. I'm not afraid of technology, but I knew nothing about this before I started 6 months ago on this journey. So the multi-view display, I think, is essential for managing your video. However you do it, I think that if you can get much better video and your audio can be controlled using the multi-view. So I think that's important to do. You can customize your multi-view display using the Atem software. The Extreme, the programmable keys on the Extreme allow very easy control of picture in a picture or picture with a picture. And learning the Atem control software is worth the effort. And there's great, YouTube, anything you need to know about running that unit is on YouTube. So I wouldn't hesitate to do it. Our next steps is we need to bring Zoom, the audio from the Zoom participants into the room. I think we have a plan for it. This past meeting, I have Aeropex bone conduction headset that I just listened to the Zoom meeting while I was running the meeting, and allowed me to, since I don't go in your ear, they allowed me to hear questions coming from Zoom, which I then relayed to the demonstrator. Again, this is only our second time doing this, but we're working on bringing audio from the Zoom participants into the room. We may add an additional monitor in the room for the Zoom gallery view. We're going to continue to explore the Atem video programming options, and we need to train additional folks on the use of it and to prepare an operating manual. John, because I hear you. Right now, I am the only one that knows how to do it. So, and that is not a good situation.
And what I found when I made an operating manual was within one meeting, I had changed the configuration and the manual was meaningless.
Thank you, Steve. Can we kill the share here?
Yeah.
For those who are afraid of the ATM Mini Pro, it is not that you can't show a video with sound through the Atem. You can't. The problem is when you hook up a second computer and try and feed it in, that you run into issues. So the way we have solved it using the Atem that we have is to simply make sure we download the video onto the main computer, and then it works fine. The problem is you get the demonstrator comes in with his computer and says, show this video, and then you suddenly have it in the wrong place or you can't get it fast enough. But don't let me talk you out of the better system. The other system does have some advantages, but don't think you can't show a video on the ATM Mini Pro. You can. So do we have any other questions for Steve?